In this sixth series of module lectures, we're going to take a look at the more early modern period and take you up to about the year 1648, 1650. It's a time period we use in history at the end of a major series of wars, and we use that as a stopping point before we go into the next part of the Western Civ course. But in this section, we'll be talking some more about the influence of those emerging Atlantic states that we talked about. In this case, we're going to take a more specific look at Portugal as it expands overseas, the legends and the ideas of Marco Polo, and the work of Prince Henry, who's going to open the door for large-scale Atlantic development and exploration. We'll then talk about the specific case of Christopher Columbus and what he's going to do in terms of this very dramatic idea that essentially is to sail directly west and end up in the far east. We'll also be taking a look at some of the ideas of what happens in the time period after Columbus as there's more exploration of North and South and Central America, and then later on, of course, the whole Pacific. We'll then move on to a more specific understanding of how the Spanish, in the case of Hernan Cortez in Mexico and the Pizarro brothers in what you know as modern-day Peru, how they're each going to be taking a series of Spanish adventurers, conquistadors, conquerors, and go back into these two major societies in South America and alter the trajectory of settlement and political control of large areas of the New World. We'll also take a look at this idea of imperialism, the larger scale understanding of how many European powers are going to be able to exert their authority overseas through military and economic control, especially by their control of the Atlantic Ocean and ability to sail long distances. We'll then also take a look at one of the key elements in sort of concluding this time period of European history, which is the era of the 30 Years' War that ends in 1648. And we'll take a look at how it really adjusted some of the winners and losers, so to speak, readjust who's going to be the growing European power and who's going to be the shrinking. And then we'll close with a couple of direct commentaries on the very exclusive interests of what happens in England up until 1648, because that's going to start to have a great impact on early American history for those of you interested. We're also going to take a look at what's going to be known as the rise of absolutism, this recreation of an all-powerful monarch, and how it's done in two places, in Russia and in France, as examples of time frames when we're going to have very powerful people accumulate all power. And we'll close with some conversations about some of the basic scientific developments of the time period, especially the ideas of people like Copernicus, Brahe, Kepler, and Galileo, who in many ways will structure the new scientific thinking as we go into the more modern era.